Well, you may know that it's a common misconception that the only thing that man has made that's visible from space is the Great Wall of China. That's just not true. It's not visible from orbit. The only thing that is visible from orbit created by man is the Los Angeles garbage pile. That grows more noticeable every day. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and this is your right angle on something a little more than just garbage is not being picked up. First of all, I think you should both be aware of the fact that we're not talking about the garbage is not being picked up because there's a garbage strike on. The garbage is not being picked up because the garbage is not being picked up. And here in Los Angeles, downtown, there are mounds and mounds of garbage that have been there for weeks. And this is through a relatively chilly winter for us. Wait till the 90s and the hundreds get here. City officials confronted with this nightmare have said that they would be certainly willing to get on it right away and clean it up. They estimate it might take 90 days. 90 days to clean up this garbage. Now, this may just seem like an eyesore to you, but I'm living in the land of the eyesore now. I live in a nice neighborhood, and there's not an overpass in my neighborhood that doesn't have people camping out underneath it and piles of garbage everywhere. So, Steve, why don't we start with you? It's not just an aesthetic reminder of what happens when Democrats run your state and your city forever. It's a little more serious than that. We have got now a rat epidemic downtown, and we have had, in the last year, 127 cases of typhus. You remember typhus. That's that third-world disease generated by filthy water and filthy living conditions that cause so much misery among humans. Once again, California leads the way in typhus cases. What do you say to a city that is the single big powerhouse of the biggest, what used to be the fifth biggest economy in the world in the state of California? They don't get to say there's no money, although that's certainly what they're going to be trying to say.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
You know, up through the 1980s and maybe parts of the 90s, California led the way. Where California went, the rest of the country followed, and that was in tax revolts. That was in building magnificent infrastructure. That was in clean cities and these beautiful beaches and all the rest. There was even the California dream, and where California went. If the rest of the country couldn't go there, we wanted to. I mean, it was California. That was a word that meant something.
That's why I moved here.
Yes. And then you guys put the Democrats in charge for 25 years. That's all it took. That's really all it took. Pete Wilson was the last real Republican governor of that state. I'm not counting Arnold Schwarzenegger. He tried for 6 months and then went full board Democrat. And you guys you took the best state in the nation, the biggest, wealthiest, prettiest state in the nation, and just pissed it away. And it reminds me of another story. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced last week that he was running for president. And the response from New Yorkers was overwhelmingly, "What the hell are you doing? Make the subways work." I mean, seriously.
Imagine.
Yeah. And
I can think of one New York mayor who'd make a good president, but that's about it.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I don't know. Rudy's getting a little old for the job these days. He's not in his prime fighting trim anymore. But that aside, what I've noticed is, I don't know a whole lot about your mayor there, but when I see him in the news, it's generally not having much to do with the problems of the city of Los Angeles. And this goes right back to what's been going on with Bill de Blasio in New York. He's fighting climate change. He's going to save the world. He's going to do all this stuff. Meanwhile, in New York City, crime is on the rise. The subway is falling apart, and he's not doing the job that the New Yorkers presumably elected him to do. And the real shame of it is, and this is the same thing is going on in Los Angeles and really all up and down California, is they're going to reelect these bozos. Every single one of these bozos that you guys are complaining about with the steaming piles, clean that up a little bit for you, that if you don't reelect them, you're going to elect somebody just like him. And how much longer is this going to go on before people in these blue enclaves on the coast of this country wake up and smell their own garbage?
This is interesting because looking at what you mentioned with New York and Los Angeles, it's very much the same kind of sine wave that we talked about in your episode this week about Americans and socialism. I mean, basically, the short form is Democrats run New York City into the ground, make it a sewer full of crime and needles. A Republican comes along and cleans it up. Now everybody's living in a clean city that's functioning well. Therefore, we have to elect Democrats in order to, in order to feel better about ourselves because everything's actually working. Scott, I'm going to go way out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I don't suspect that Eric Garcetti is in any danger of getting typhus himself from the rats that are teeming downtown. But I do know that it is a staple of LA city government, as well as the glitterati who emerge from their mansions and yachts, to say in great detail about how much sympathy they have for the homeless, which are downtown, which are in this city, which is amid the garbage piles, which is swarming with rats, which are covered in fleas, which are carrying typhus. Please continue.
The job of mayor of a city is rarely what it should be. Essentially, the mayor of the city is overseeing a conglomerate of utilities. And that's basically what he's doing. It's a series of services that the city is deputized by the taxpayers to provide at the taxpayers' expense and for the taxpayers' benefit.
Very few. A super.
Yeah, very few mayors see themselves like a super, though. Most mayors have higher aspirations. They feel like they need to wax eloquent on subjects of, equality and tolerance and things like that, rather than just make sure that the potholes are filled, that the trash is picked up, that the water is clean and flowing, and other basics, human necessities, just functional aspects of that job. Now, who suffers when that doesn't happen? Not the mayor. And not the city council. You don't need very many votes to get elected in most American cities to be mayor of the city. I mean, when I was back in Pennsylvania, the mayor of Allentown, I think, in the most recent election that I can recall, was elected with something like 7,500 votes. It's a city of 110,000 people. So he had 7,500 votes. That's all he needed. You can rustle that up just from talking to the right business people and having them kick in a little money and being able to bring out their employees and do a little door-to-door stuff. You don't need to get that even a plurality of the people in the city. It's a very small minority of the people in the city. And that's the problem. There's no accountability for it. So Garcetti is not going to get bit by a rat. And if that garbage doesn't get picked up, Garcetti's going to get reelected anyway. My proposal, by the way, for your city, because I have seen the most beautiful part of your city. And in the most beautiful part of your city, there is continually this, it's like music playing all the time going da 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 da. If Disney was running the utilities of the garbage and the water, the city would be beautiful. So, get a coalition of businesses like Disney, like Apple, or whoever else is in the area and basically say, look, this is your city. How would you organize this to get it done? Because when you see garbage piled up, when you see people sleeping under bridges, it's not only a human tragedy and a health risk, it's also a failure of systems. That means there are bad systems in place that cannot be run on a regular basis with reliability and excellence. And that is something where you bring in McKinsey, you bring in a business consulting firm, or you bring in Disney and have them do it the Disney way. If I were Garcetti,
somebody own it.
Yes, if I were Garcetti, I'd be on the phone tomorrow for Disney and say, hey, what would it take for you to take over managing the trash situation in this city?
And I bet they do it for less than what we're spending now.
Oh,
it would be awesome.
So we've been talking for quite a long time now about how Gavin Newsom took the most beautiful city in America, San Francisco, and turned it into a place where you have to have an app on your phone to avoid the largest concentration of human feces and drug needles on the street. Same thing is happening in Los Angeles. And reading this story, I thought there's nothing that's going to stop these people. This is never going to change. This is not ever going to change. And then I thought, like a lightning bolt, I said, I can think of something. I can think of something that would make this change. The only thing that I can think of that would actually get this problem solved would be if they were shooting a movie downtown and Charlize Theron got bit by a flea and contracted and died of bubonic plague. I think that might get people's attention. But until a celebrity or a movie star, because I know how this town works, until one of those people gets sick or die, it's just going to be more talking about all the stuff we do for the homeless while we make them live in a rat-infested trash pile filled with typhoid, while movie stars get up and talk about how virtuous they are for helping out. It's going to take a celebrity dying of plague. Typhus won't do it, not strong enough. It's going to have to be plague. When we see bubonic plague in downtown Los Angeles, that might actually get people's attention. But certainly if a celebrity gets it, then something will be done, because they're the people who we all work for and to whom we owe our very existence. Next time you get in trouble, ask a celebrity. That's what I was taught growing up. Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of Right Angle, made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com. If you want to join a family of people who are just the best people in the world, we really just sell two things here, common sense and decency. That's pretty much our stock and trade. And if those sound like something you want to buy, we'd love to have you over there at BillWhittle.com and become a member. So for Steve Green and Scott Ott, we'll see you next week on Right Angle.